Okay, when we have a complicated fraction that we need to work out or some order of operations problems that we need to work out, we often want to use store and recall on our calculator to help us to keep track of signs and order of operations and so forth. So store and recall, on this calculator, it's STO, and it has like a little arrow next to it. That you can store a value in a bin, like how I was showing you how it stores the answer from the previous calculation. It stores it in a bin called ANS, which we can access right here. There are also other bins like A, B, C, D, E, and to get to those, we just push this store button. So if I wanted to do 3/4 plus 7/8, I could do that. So 3 ABC 4. First I have to clear, right? 3/4 plus 7/8. This is where I really like the calculator because who wants to worry about common denominators? So this gives us 1 5/8, but remember we don't like that format. We want to convert it to an improper fraction, and so we have 13/8. So what we have right now is 1, our problem is 1 and over 13/8. Now we want it to be a simplified fraction with only one numerator and one denominator, and at the moment we have a numerator and then another numerator and denominator. So there's a couple of things we can do. If we want to use the calculator, we can just use our inverse button. And the inverse button is usually 1 over x or x to the -1. It'll look like one of those. And what it does is does a 1 over whatever is sitting on the calculator. So in our case, I have an x to the -1 button, and I will just, oh, I don't need that first. I will just do x answer to the -1 is what it ends up doing for me, and then push enter. And it really just flipped over my fraction. So my result is 8/13. And we can get to that also if I want to show you the algebra just by multiplying by the reciprocal of that denominator in the numerator and denominator. So a number over itself so that it's legal. And my 8/13 reduce in the denominator, and in the numerator I have 1 times 8/13, and so I just get 8/13. So what I wanted you to see is that you can add those two fractions using your ABC button here, and then you can take 1 over that fraction by using this inverse button right here. And that gave me my result, 8/13. Okay, for this problem, I have two problems with fractions, so I'm going to do each one separately and store them in my calculator. So the first one is 3 minus 2/3. So 2/3 equals, and it gives me a mixed number, so I convert it to improper, and I have 7/3 for my numerator. And that is over 5/8. Oops, I forgot to do the store. Okay, so 7/3, and I want to store that because I'm going to need it here in a minute. So I just push the store button, and it's giving me a choice of A, B, C, D, or E where I want to store it. And so I'm just going to pick bin A and push equals. And now it's showing me, hey, I stored your answer in bin A. And this is what the value is, 2 1/3. We don't care what format it stores it as long as it's just storing it for us. So 7/3, I'm going to write here that that is stored in bin A, and I'll put a circle around it so that I won't think it's a variable that I have to multiply by. Now I can go ahead and figure out this denominator. So 5/8 plus 8, and it's giving me 8 5/8, and then I'll convert that to an improper fraction, and I have 69/8. And really what I want to do now is take this value in the numerator, the 7/3, and divide it by the value in the denominator, the 69/8. The 69/8 is sitting here. I can store it if I want to. Sometimes that makes people feel better. I'll store it in B. And so I can think about it as now in B. But also remember it is stored in answer because it's the last value that we did. So we don't have to store it in a separate variable. We could just use answer. So I'll show you first using answer. I need to get that value back out of A. So I do second store, and that's recall. And that I move over to A. Well, it's already there. Then I just do equals. So now it has 2 1/3. And then I want to divide by what was in my answer bin. And the answer bin you get by doing second and that negative button for this calculator. And then I push enter. So now I have 56 over 207. Now remember we did store that denominator in B and we had the numerator in A. So I'll show you again using the A and the B for doing the division. So I'll do recall A divided by recall, slide over to B, and push enter. And now it's showing my division. Push enter one more time, and there it is, 56 over 207. Yes, it seems a little complicated because there's several steps, but if you write out where you're storing things as you calculate and write out your intermediate values, and then you can see what you need to do a lot easier. I need to do A divided by B, and then you can get your answer. Here's another one to try. Give it a shot and see what you think. So for this one, I see a 1 over, so I'm thinking, oh, I'll just use my inverse button. Once I've calculated that denominator, I'll use the inverse of it to finish up. But first, I should come to the denominator, and I need to multiply two fractions. And I can do them just like I was doing here with the addition, but instead put in a multiply. So I have 3/4 times 3/5. That gives me 9/20. I want to write that down. I have 1 over 9/20. And now I can just use my inverse button. It automatically goes onto my previous answer and then push enter. And I'll convert that into an improper fraction, and it is 20 over 9. And we can see when we do the inverse of a fraction, it just flips the fraction over, right? When you have 1 divided by that number, we've seen it twice here. Here we had 1 over 13/8 and it became 8/13. Here we had 1 over 9 over 20 and it became 20 over 9. So that is going to hold. That's some real mathematics going on there. All right, here's another one to try. Give it a shot. What I see is that we have 6/7 divided by an operation. So I'm going to go ahead and do the denominator first and store it. I don't actually have to store it, but I think I will just to show you the store again. But I could just keep it in the answer button. I'll do it two ways. So first off, I want to do 3/4 minus 7/3. So 3 ABC 4 minus 7 ABC 3 equals, convert that back into an improper fraction, and I have 6/7 over negative 19/12. Now that's a simple division problem that I need to do. And 6/7 divided by whatever is sitting here sounds a lot like 6/7 divided by answer. So that's what I'm going to do. Type in 6/7 divided by answer. Remember, get answer by doing second and the negative button. And then equals, and I get negative 72 over 133. Now, if you wanted to go ahead and use a store bin for your result for the denominator, that's fine. So I would have 3/4 minus 7/3. And I'm not going to convert it because I'm about to store it. So I'll just do store A. And it'll just overwrite whatever was there before. You don't have to clear it or anything like that. So that was my denominator that I stored in A. So I would write this. And then I just have to do 6/7 divided by recall. A, it automatically comes 2. So I push enter one more time, and I get -72/133.